Steel City Sports back here, continuing our NFL playoff coverage. We are now in the divisional round. If you want to see any of my wild card game reactions, you can go check those out on the channel. But today we're talking Texans-Ravens and what I think should be a really good matchup. The one thing that jumped out to me instantly when I looked at this on DraftKings is the Ravens are 9-point favorites in this game. I get it. They're the 1 seed. They've had an incredible defense this year. They have the reigning MVP on their team, Lamar Jackson. But I think one of the best bets of the week is to take Houston with the points. I think that's for a playoff game where you have 2 elite quarterbacks. I see it being a much closer game than 9, especially with the Ravens. We're going to get into this. Is rest necessarily a good thing? Because I know they rested their starters the last week of the regular season, and then they had the past week off. So rust could maybe play a factor. Like we saw last time the Ravens were the 1 seed. Back in 2019, they lost their first playoff game to the Titans. I get it, obviously, like the Ravens, they're a far better team now than they were in 2019, just for the simple fact that Lamar has grown a lot more as a player, a thrower. I think he has a far better field awareness. Like he's sliding now, he doesn't take the big hits. And of course, the defense has drastically improved from then. But still, I mean, it just comes down to the fact that this team, the Baltimore Ravens, their starters have not played in 3 weeks, so that is kind of concerning for me. And it is wild for me that they're getting they're favored by 9 points. I would definitely take Houston with the points in this game. Taking a look at Houston, they're obviously coming off a momentous win last week against the Cleveland Browns. We did review of that game if you want to go see it, but I'll sum it up real quick. I did predict Houston to win that game for the simple fact I didn't trust Joe Flacco. A 38-year-old Joe Flacco was like, guys, a couple weeks ago, he was sitting on his couch. Like, I get it. He's beat up on a couple teams, but he still throws a lot of picks. And going against a playoff-level team, I just had very little confidence in Joe Flacco, and that turned out to be true. You combine that with the fact that DeMeco Ryans' defense was sensational. You combine that with the fact that C.J. Stroud essentially played a perfect game. They crushed the Browns, especially in that second half and this is one thing that I think the Texans can take from that Browns game and kind of try to obviously apply it to the Ravens now, because obviously quarterback, completely different style from Joe Flacco, who's a old school throwback, stand in the pocket passer, compared to Lamar Jackson, who's one of the most dynamic dual threats in the history of the sport. However, though, just looking at the offensive line for these teams, the Ravens have a good offensive line, but the Cleveland Browns, for me, have a top 3 offensive line in the NFL, and they looked completely rattled and exposed by the Houston Texans pass rush. So that is one key thing to this game. Obviously, like I said, it's going to be a little different because Lamar has a lot more escapability, but if their pass rush is able to apply even 80% or 70% of the amount of production they got in that game against Cleveland, on a far better offensive line, that's definitely a key matchup there. I think that's one thing to really pay attention to. And yeah, C.J. Stroud, like anytime you get a top 10 quarterback matchup in the playoffs, you're going to get a great game. I think C.J. has proven this year through his poise, through his consistency, and his efficiency. I mean, he is a top 10 top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now. Lamar Jackson clearly is as well. He's going to win the MVP this year. I think this has potential to be a high-scoring game. I mean, the Cleveland Browns had the number 1 pass defense in the NFL, and the Houston Texans bludgeoned them. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And it really is just, for me, it is going to come down to the Baltimore Ravens. I think that they have a lot of pressure on them in this game to win this. Like we just talked about last time, they were the 1 seed. They flamed out. Lamar didn't look very good. And the Houston Texans, they're kind of playing with house money. Like no one, myself included, had them making the playoffs this year, winning their division. I mean, they finished last place in their division last year and picked 2nd overall. They were god-awful last year. And to go from that to winning your division and winning a playoff game against the number 1 rated pass defense in the NFL, they are playing with house money right now, and I think that could be a dangerous outcome for the Baltimore Ravens. Ultimately, I'm not going to pick the Texans to win this because I do think Lamar has grown as a player, but the 9 is crazy. Being favored by 9 points is, I think, insanity for an NFL second-round playoff game, for a matchup that has two highly capable quarterbacks. I think it's going to be a close game. Ultimately, Baltimore will pull it out because they have more experience. And I think overall their roster is just more talented. So that's kind of my thoughts on this game. My prediction is Baltimore will win in a close game. It could potentially go to a shootout as well, because although Baltimore's defense is good, Cleveland's defense was supposedly really good, and Houston was able to really expose them. So that's my thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments your predictions for this game. Please like and subscribe.